Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 9 running back start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2020. We are going to be going over every single game from Thursday Night Football all the way to Monday Night Football and talk about whether I want to start or sit the running backs in each and every single matchup for week number 9. Now, as I'm recording this, the trade deadline has not finished. We're around 2 hours from the trade deadline ending. Now, nothing has really happened today, but if one of these running backs just so happens to get traded, there will be a video on my channel discussing it as soon as it happens. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you end up enjoying. I post all types of content to help you guys win your 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And real quick, before we get into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is my favorite way to play daily fantasy sports and has this new inventive matchup that I love on their website. It is called the Matchup Shop. Pretty much what it is the player versus player game. You do all this research all week long, figure out, will I start Jerick McKinnon or do I want to roll the dice with JaMycal Hasty? You figure these things out as the week goes on, and Overlay DFS has these matchups for you, plus or minus the spread. Do you want Aaron Rodgers minus 4 fantasy points, or do you think Nick Mullins could take him over plus the 4 additional fantasy points that he gets in this matchup? So check out OverlayDFS.com, link down below in the description. It's very fun, and it is very, very simple to make some big cash. And we are back. Let's get right into it. Week 9 running back start or sit decisions. We begin with the Thursday Night Football game between the Packers at the San Francisco 49ers, and this game has so many complications in it. Obviously, one of the bigger ones, Aaron Jones. Does he play or not to be? To be or not to be for Aaron Jones this week? He's coming off of a game where he did not play. Now, on a short week playing Thursday Night Football, I'm about 50-50 on the percent chance that Aaron Jones gets the nod to suit up on Thursday night. So if he plays, he's definitely a start for me. Top 10, if not even a top 5 option up against the San Francisco 49ers, who have seemed to have held up the white flag like they're France and have just given completely up with Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Guap out a bunch of games, and George Kittle likely out the rest of the season. So what else happened in Green Bay? Just so happens that Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon are in the COVID protocol where they're not going to be able to play on Thursday. So now what do you do if Aaron Jones doesn't play? Well, if Aaron Jones doesn't play, there's Dexter behind him. There's another back behind him. Do you even feel confident starting a guy that's 4th or 5th string on the team? For me, no. So I would likely not be starting any of these Packers running backs unless, obviously, Aaron Jones plays. Then he's locked and loaded right into my lineup. For the 49ers, Jerick McKinnon seemed to be hobbled again last week, so I don't feel ultra confident starting him. So you LaMichael that. JaMycal Hasty might be the running back to be starting for this team, and I agree that he will be a good start this week up against the Green Bay Packers. Good is kind of an overstatement as well. I don't feel ultra confident in it, but there's a lot worse running backs, in my opinion, that you could be starting than JaMycal Hasty this week. We begin on the Sunday slate here with the Giants at the Washington Football Team. What an excellent matchup to start off your Sunday. So Antonio Gibson looks like a very good start this week up against the New York Football Giants. I understand that Ronald Jones, as well as Leonard Fournette, did not play all that well up against the Giants on Monday Night Football, but I think Antonio Gibson has been very, very safe as it has came for fantasy football as of recently, and he seems to clearly be the number 1 running back in Washington, so I will continue to fire up Antonio Gibson up against not the greatest defense in the New York Football Giants, but much better than they get the credit for. I'm going to be sitting down for the New York Football Giants, Wayne Gallman, as well as the short man, Dion Lewis. Wayne Gallman and Dion Lewis are running into an absolute buzzsaw of a front 7 in the Washington Football Team, so go ahead and avoid those guys this week up against a tough front 7 in Washington. J.D. McKissick is going to be a sit for me as well. I just feel like Antonio Gibson is the clear alpha now there in that backfield. Next game here, we got the Chicago Bears at the Les Titans, the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to be starting up Derrick Henry in this matchup. Why? Because the guy's built different. Why? Because it doesn't matter if he's playing the Bears. The guy is simply the best player on the field, in my opinion, for the Tennessee Titans. He runs for 100 yards every single game. It does not matter who he's playing against. I would not be surprised if he scored multiple touchdowns in this showdown up against these Chi-Town Bears. Unless Derrick Henry was playing up against the Monstars from that Space Jam movie, even then, you're still playing Derrick Henry because he is built different and he will be able to beat any defense, in my opinion. For the Bears, I like David Montgomery, but I don't love it. The Titans' defense on third down looks like fucking string cheese. They just completely fall apart. They're like the defensive line just turns into a turnstile that David Montgomery will be able to run through. Now, whether or not David Montgomery is given the opportunity is really the knock on him on a weekly basis. If he's given the opportunity, he plays good. But if they're starting to run the ball with Cordero Patterson, they're starting to fucking tickle his fancy and fuck David Montgomery over, then you're not going to see him put up a good game. But I believe in Matt Nagy to flip that stupid-ass fucking visor he wears and put on a real hat because you're bald. It does not look good, Matt Nagy, and you look like a dumbass coach every single time you run out Cordero Patterson on to the field. Next game, here we got the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings, and you guessed it, Chef Dalvin Cook is going to be a start. Dalvin Cook last week absolutely ramsacked the Green Bay Packers defense for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 fucking touchdowns in the game. He put up a masterpiece, the likes of Mona Lisa, on to the goddamn fantasy football space. He absolutely torched that defense, and I expect him to do the exact same thing this week to the Detroit Lions. For the Lions, I like DeAndre Swift. Now, you're definitely hoping for a touchdown for Swift, considering the backfield is kind of a smorgasbord of guys. AP, Kerryon Johnson. It's not like Swift is the clear number one there. Now, it seems like he is, but that doesn't mean that AP and Kerryon Johnson are just going to sit on the bench and watch DeAndre Swift do his thing, because Matt Patricia still rolls them out. So I like DeAndre Swift this week up against a not-so-great Minnesota Vikings defense, but there's always the caution with AP and Kerryon Johnson being on the team, because Matt Patricia just switches it up sometimes and just gives those guys a zillion carries, when in reality, we all know the best back in the backfield is DeAndre Swift. Next game, here we got the Carolina Panthers at the Kansas City Chiefs. This game seems to be the return game for Run CMC Christian McCaffrey after he's been gone for a zillion weeks. At this point, you drafted Christian McCaffrey for a fucking reason, so you play him this week. If he gets the nod to go up against the Chiefs, he probably would have played last week had they have played on Sunday. Instead, they played Thursday up against the Atlanta Falcons. While the Chiefs' defense is tough, Christian McCaffrey, he's one of a kind. He's amazing. He'll be good up against the Chiefs. If he doesn't play, I still feel confident in Mike Davis, strictly based upon the workload that he gets in the backfield. He's nowhere near as good as Christian McCaffrey, but it doesn't seem to matter when Teddy Roosevelt, Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater likes to dump the ball off so much to the running back. But if Christian McCaffrey plays, Mike Davis is as good as dead in your starting lineup, so do not start him. For the Chiefs last week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell did absolutely nothing in the perfect game for them to score 7 million goddamn points up against the New York Football Jets and dumbass Adam Gase. It was such a weird game because you thought that the Chiefs would just slowly win this game. That's what my perception was. I thought Andy Reid wouldn't step on the fucking gas pedal and just railroad the New York Football Jets. I thought they'd try to run it in the second half, but instead Patrick Mahomes was just dissecting that defense. He was like Chef Gordon Ramsay in the goddamn kitchen, just slicing and dicing through them. It was the simplest game ever for Patrick Mahomes. He probably closed his eyes on half the plays and threw dimes, and it did not seem to matter at all that they were up by a zillion points. They still just kept packing on the points, and they just did not use Le'Veon Bell or Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this game, even though it was a Le'Veon Bell revenge game. With that said, here up against the Panthers, they're going to have to run because the Panthers are an all-right team, and they may be able to get close to the Chiefs. I'm not saying they can beat the Chiefs because I think the Chiefs absolutely smack up the Panthers, but they will still be able to run the ball a little bit more, in my opinion. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, aka CEH, will be a start for me this week up against the Carolina Panthers. I just see him getting a lot more work than he did last week. Le'Veon Bell just seems like you cannot start him. They're just not giving him enough work yet. Maybe they're just saving him for the playoffs or something. I have no idea. I expect him to get more work as the weeks go on, but for right now, I don't feel comfortable at all starting him up against the Carolina Panthers. Next game here, we got the Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you guys end up hitting that subscribe button down below. Again, it's free. I'm putting out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So in this one, we begin with the Texans, and we're going to go with David Johnson as a start in this matchup. The Jaguars' defense is just completely shit. The Jaguars are rolling out not Gardner Minshew because he hurt his hand. His hand. It's not hurt at all. He's perfectly fine. They just want to make sure that he doesn't accidentally win a couple of games so that they lose out on a guy well, they're not going to get Trevor Lawrence, so maybe they want Trey Lance. I don't know who they would. I mean, they're going to draft the quarterback, that's for sure. So it's not going to be Lawrence, though, because Lawrence is going to go to the Jets because the Jets can't win a single game. So they're in full-on tank mode right now. So they're not letting Gardner Minshew play. Will Gardner play again this year? I have no idea. I think that is complete disrespect to the guy, considering how good he has been thus far this season, even with a not-so-hot Jaguars team. David Johnson's going to be able to run a train on this Jaguars defense. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. For me, James Robinson. My worry, though, with James Robinson is the quarterback change. It appears it's going to be 6th-round draft pick Jake Luton as the starting quarterback for the Jaguars. So they're probably going to try to run the ball even if they're down. James Robinson is the king of getting dump off, so I feel like Luton will be able to do that. So I'm still confident in James Robinson potentially bringing back top 8 potential for the week for the Texans unless David Johnson is dead 6 feet under. I am not starting Duke Earl Johnson in this one, even up against a soft-ass Jaguars defense. Next game up on the docket, we got the Ravens at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, don't let this confuse you because there's 7,000 guys on your screen. Right now for the Baltimore Ravens, it appears that Mock Ingram is not going to end up suiting up this Sunday for the game up against the Colts, which bodes well for J.K. Dobbins as well as Gus Edwards, who's my preferred player to start. I think it's J.K. Dobbins, but I would not mind having Gus Bus Edwards in my lineup here up against the Indianapolis Colts, as long as Mark Ingram doesn't play, but it seems like he is not going to be getting the nod to go on Sunday. For the Colts, it's a complete and utter shit show right now. Jonathan Taylor gets outsnapped by Wilkins in this game. Last week, Taylor appears to be hurt. He's hurt, allegedly. So if he's good to go on Sunday, if they seem like he's 100%, then you play Jonathan Taylor. If not, you can play Hines or Wilkins. They scored 3 combined touchdowns last week. So I wouldn't feel ultra confident in Nyheim Hines because Nyheim Hines did us the good old some roofies right in our drink. Week 1, this guy goes 1 in the pink, 2 in the stink, right? Get it? Dropping it in your drink. 2 in the stink, 1 in the pink. I think I said it the opposite. It's 1 in the pink, 2 in the stink. That's what he did to us. Because week 1, he just went to town. And then after that, did absolutely nothing. And then he lights it up last week. Can you trust him? I don't know. Can you trust Wilkins? I don't know either. But this does seem like a juicy matchup where both teams are going to be trying to run the ball a decent amount. So I will throw out Hines and Wilkins as a starter if Jonathan Taylor does not seem healthy. If Jonathan Taylor does seem healthy and good to go, I will be confident playing him. And I'll be sitting Nyheim Hines as well as Jordan Wilkins. Next game, here we got the Seattle Seahawks at the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. In this one, I like Chris Carson if he ends up playing. The Bills defense has looked pretty good thus far this season, but they have not looked good up against the run last week, up against the New England Deflatriots. Damian Harris ran over 100+ yards on them, and I expect that to happen here from Chris Carson as long as he gets the nod to go. Now, if Chris Carson does not play, wiki, fist pump DJ Dallas. If Carson misses, will be the start. DJ Dallas played amazing last week up against the San Francisco 49ers, and I would find it very hard to sit him down this week if Chris Carson misses. Obviously, if Carson plays, you don't play wiki DJ Dallas. For the Buffalo Bills, Zach Moss was the guy to start last week, which tells me Devin Singletary is going to be the guy to start this week, or neither of them will be the guy to start this week. So that's where I kind of feel on this. It is a parasitic backfield. Zach Moss eats into Devin Singletary's value. Devin Singletary eats into Zach Moss's value. And unless they score a touchdown, you're going to feel like a complete and utter dumbass with one of these guys in your lineup on Sunday. I told you guys during draft season, if you guys were here, that Devin Singletary was a complete and utter bust for fantasy football. And it has seemed to come true to the fact that Zach Moss has just emerged onto that team. If you're in a tough space, I would prefer to start Zach Moss. But Devin Singletary for sure is definitely going to be a sit for me, and I don't even feel confident at all playing Zach Moss because, again, you're playing the touchdown roulette with those guys. Next game, here we got the Denver Broncos at the Atlanta Falcons. Last week, we saw the LA Chargers run pretty decently up against the Denver Broncos, and Todd Gurley has just been such a vital part of this Atlanta Falcons defense. Somehow his arthritic knee has not affected him at all. The guy's simply built different, I guess, and he's just running all over defenses, and I feel like Todd Gurley is going to get a heavy dosage of work this week up against the Denver Broncos. For the Denver Broncos, it's the case of fuckery, just like we saw with Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Two good running backs that are just completely vulturing each other. Last week, Phillip Lindsay was the clear guy you would have wanted to, or you wouldn't have wanted to start him, right? So you didn't start him. But Phillip Lindsay, at the end of the game, was the guy that was clear you should have started. He got more yards. He scored a touchdown. Melvin Gordon didn't do anything in a revenge game up against his own team, his old team. So what do I think about it? I think you just sit them both. If I was to go ahead and roll the dice and throw one out there, it would be Phillip Lindsay, in my opinion, over Melvin Gordon. But again, on a weekly basis, you really are going to have no idea which one of these guys to start unless one of them ends up going down due to injury. Next game, here we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. And in this one, I like Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs crowded himself out there up against the Cleveland Browns and put up a game that we wanted to see out of Josh Jacobs pretty much all year, aside from earlier in the season when the guy was balling out. He just has not produced as of recently, but he had the comeback game we all knew he had in him because of how talented this guy is. So I definitely like Jacobs in this one. On the other side of the ball, we actually have two guys with J as their first initial and their last initial. Justin Jackson going up against the Raiders. Now, Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly are also that kind of parasitic backfield, but I feel like Justin Jackson has won the job while Austin Eckler is still trying to figure out how the fuck he can get back onto the field. Very sad because of how talented Austin Eckler is, but I'm sure he'll be back sometime soon, I think. So Justin Jackson will be a start for me this week up against the Raiders, but am I confident in it? Fuck no, because I think Joshua Kelly may end up being the guy over there in LA, but what I've seen as of recently, Justin Jackson would be the clear start for the team. Next game here, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Dallas Cowboys, and can't everyone just wait to see Gucci fucking Danucci play another football game? The answer is no. Andy Dalton has been placed on the COVID IR, so he's missing, and Gucci Danucci is going to be starting again for the Cowboys. This game is a complete and utter mockery to the NFL. The Steelers are going to wipe the absolute floor with the Dallas Cowboys in the case of James Conner going to absolute pound town up against the worst run defense in the NFL. For the Cowboys, you do start Zeke Elliott, right? You kind of fucking have to, but he's got an with like 7,000 H's there because I have zero idea what to do with Zeke, right? Because you have to play him. This is a very tough matchup, but the Steelers defense hasn't looked as good against the run as they did early in the season when they completely locked up Saquon Barkley. But with that said, I don't feel confident in it. I'm sure you have to start him because he's not probably a running back 1 anymore. Now he's like a running back 2 or 3 for you, but you almost have to start him, but I don't feel ultra confident in it at all. If there's a way you can get out of Ezekiel Elliott, I am running for the goddamn hills for the Cowboys as well. Unless Zeke was to go down, there's no way you can start Tony Pollard. Next game here, we got my Miami Dolphins at the Arizona Cardinals, and I like both running backs in this game. After Kenyon Drake went down, this is prime time, like Deion fucking Sanders, for Chase Edmonds to shove his cock down the throat of a defense, and it might be the Miami Dolphins this week. Chase Edmonds has the hands, he has the legs, he has the perfect balance. He can catch the ball, he can run the fucking ball, and that is exactly what you want for a running back in fantasy football. So I expect big things out of Chase Edmonds in this game. For Myles Gaskin, that bitch Carol Gaskin is going to ball out in this one as well. We've seen him get a decent amount of work thus far this season. We saw him look good with Tua Tagovailoa under center, so I think Myles Gaskin is going to be worthy of a start this week up against the Arizona Cardinals. Next game here, we got a matchup from week numero uno, the New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In a game that we will have waited all day for Sunday night. I like Alvin Kamara in this matchup. I think he's going to play good up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why is that? Because I think he will play good every single fucking week, because that's what Alvin Kamara does. For the Buccaneers, it is a tough scenario here. If I'm being honest with you, I would sit both of them, but you probably can't do that. So the guy I feel most confident in would be Leonard Fournette. Ronald Jones probably would have devoured the Giants defense for breakfast last night, lunch, and dinner, and for fucking dessert. But at the end of the day, the guy fumbled early, and Bruce Arians has no concern. If you fumble, you're sitting on the fucking bench. So Jones is going to have to be a sit going forward until Leonard Fournette fumbles and Ronald Jones gets his fucking job back. Leonard Fournette also looks like a much better pass-catching back, and I think we'll be fine in this game, but don't buy super big into Leonard Fournette dropping like 20 points, because the odds that happens is very low. And final game here, we got the New England Patriots at the New York Football Jets. The only running back I feel confident in at all is Damian Harris of the New England Patriots. This guy has gone to Pound Town 2 weeks in a row for the Patriots. Looks like the only bright spot in that offense. And up against the New York Football Jets, it's dubbed to be a very easy matchup. But last week, again, I thought it was a really soft serve matchup for the Chiefs, and they just didn't even run the ball. But the Patriots will run the ball because Cam Newton looks like a fucking dumpster fire under center. For the other Patriot, James White, I don't feel confident starting him. Cam Newton can't fucking hit the broads. What do they say about it? It's like, can't even hit the broad side of a barn or something. No idea what that means. But the guy couldn't hit you if you were standing 5 fucking inches away from him. It's embarrassing. James White, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but Cam Newton as my quarterback is not one. Feels bad for James White, though, if I'm being honest with you. He should be getting way more work, just gets nothing in New England. And for LaMichael P. Ryan, you LaMichael that. I don't feel confident starting him up against the Patriots, even if the Patriots look like complete and utter dog shit. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, have a great time, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers. Make sure you guys check out overlaydfs.com. Link down below in the description. As always, I love you all. Goodbye.